Bora will moderate the session.
Kyoko Kuwahara, a research fellow at the Japan Institute of International Affairs in Tokyo, Japan. I'll be moderating this session in English. Also, I would like to thank all of you who are engaging in this great event. I'm very honored to be invited here as a moderator. So this panel will be talking about disinformation and disinformation countermeasures and how civil society organization can play an important role in combating this issue. And democracy and democratic institutions have long faced threats from disinformation or foreign information manipulation and interference. Many democracies, including Taiwan, for instance, have long combated such issues and challenges for almost for a decade. However, Trump factors affecting such disinformation countermeasures. For instance, he is eliminating a number of counter-disinformation relevant ministries, agencies, and groups or civil society organizations, and through supporting or engaging such disinformation challenges, ending support for a number of related programs that was aiming to fight against such disinformation, saying the censorship. So now, how can we overcome such new challenges, and what kind of roles all of us or civil society organization from the bottom-up approach should take in such countermeasures? So today we have 4 distinguished panelists here. Audrey Tan from for a couple of last panels, and also Mr. Yuki Ryoma Kawabe from Code for Japan, and Dr. Kazutoshi Sasahara, a professor at Institute of Science Tokyo, and last but not least, Mr. Daisuke Furuta, editor-in-chief at the Japan Fact-Check Center, which is the leading fact-check organization in Japan at this moment. So due to time constraints, we have only 40 to 45 minutes. So I would like to divide this panel into 2 parts. In the first round, I would like to ask each speaker to give 7 minutes each for remarks, and the second round, 3 minutes each. So I'd like to start with you, Audrey. From the Taiwanese perspective and your own experiences, how would you see and evaluate such disinformation countermeasure environment at this moment in the face of Trump administration? And in order to elaborate this topic and this issue, I would like to provide us some of the good practices or your experience from your Taiwanese perspective, and what kind of actions Taiwanese civil society organization and government sector were taking in addressing such issues. Thank you.
Thank you. So you mentioned 2 distinct concepts in your opening. Disinformation, intentional false information to mislead people, to cause harm, and foreign interference, which is including, but certainly not limited to disinformation. In Taiwan, according to VDEM, for the past 12 years or so, we're the top target for foreign information operations, influence operations, and interference. And we have seen less and less degree of use of disinformation as the main tactic. Rather, we see in 2017 already, when I was in charge in the cabinet of the countermeasure against FIMI, we translated this concept as contested information, or 争议讯息 in Mandarin, instead of just disinformation, 假讯息. The difference being that the conflict caused by contested information are necessarily of a polarizing nature. But disinformation is just one way to cause polarization. You can also have regular opinions, and then you amplify the extremes to create conflict. That is also one way. And in the past few years, we have seen the AI swarm. That's another way to create believable AI profiles on social media and mimic human interactions and to shape the conversations, again, without spreading any disinformation. So while disinformation was certainly one of the main tactics around 2016-17, we have seen a shifting away from it toward what's more like an influence and AI swarm and opinion shaping. The latter, because it's chronic and more insidious, it's usually easier to fight it with what we call pre-bunking rather than debunking. Debunking is already after the opinion has been shaped, the conflict already out there, the polarization already done, and then you go out and say, oh, that was an influence operation. It usually doesn't work. However, if you do it before the influence operation happened, then it always works. In Taiwan, I took great care in the pre-bunking, in the civics education, as we heard about in our curriculum reform. We emphasize civic competency because no amount of checked facts in a top-down fashion will protect a young mind against influence operation. However, if they have investigated how such influence operation is done and indeed have collaborated with their peers to produce the pre-bunking material, just doing this once or twice inoculates a young person against this kind of polarization and influence operation. So it is not the checked facts, the output of journalism that inoculates young people. It is the fact-building process, the journey of journalism that inoculates a young person. So civic competency education is one of the main parts in making the pre-bunking strategy work. The other one that we worked is to assume liability in the social media sense for the damage that is caused by impersonation. Because AI swarm relies on the ability for a robot to impersonate a human and for a human controller to impersonate 10,000 people, for example. And Facebook, I don't want to single them out, but you see the most on Facebook, and to some degree YouTube, offers the ability to bypass the immune system that is civil society and so on by paying advertisement money. So it's like bypassing fact-checking as a service. And we see a lot of advertisements being done by the influence operators over time. So in 2018, after a particularly bad operation, we have made Facebook and YouTube assume KYC for political and social messages. And starting this year, this January, we extended this KYC requirement to all advertisement, no exception. We're the first jurisdiction to say if Facebook does not require digital signature in their advertisements, like you see Audrey Tang trying to give you some cryptocurrency or something, and if Audrey Tang did not sign the message and somebody gets scammed for $5 million, then Facebook become liable to that $5 million. This measure is co-created using a citizen assembly online, using Stanford deliberative polling, so that we can show the legislator this really is co-created by all of people. It is not to increase censorship. And so by taking an anti-fraud stance, this is on the actor and behavior layer of impersonation and inauthentic coordination. It is not about the content. And not stepping into the content layer means we don't do censorship. And hence, we are Vance-proof and Trump-proof when it comes to the social media, because Trump and Vance, the vice and president of the US, is mostly very wary about the content-level actions other jurisdictions take to the social media companies. But they are entirely okay about anti-money laundering, counter-fraud, international coordination of criminal behavior, organized criminality, and so on. So shifting from a safety perspective to a security, especially epistemic security perspective, has allowed us to do a set of measures that do not trigger this tariff conversation or response. I hope that's an okay opening. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. So,
Microphone.
Yes, it's on. So thank you, Audrey. I'm glad that you brought up this keyword of pre-bunking, which is one of the key or hottest keywords or topics among Japanese practitioners at this moment to how to preemptively and proactively combat such new challenges. So thank you so much. So next, maybe I would ask Ryoma to continue this conversation. So Ryoma, the Trump factor seems to be increasing. So it's good that Audrey brought up how social media company or tech company should be acting in this context. So Trump factor seems to be increasing the challenge faced by the tech companies. For instance, Meta said that they were quitting fact-checking, and Elon Musk, on the other hand, reviewed the X community node function, saying that Democrat supporters or Ukrainian supporters were gaming or manipulating that system or function. So I guess the efficacy of conventional content moderation developed by tech companies is being questioned under the Trump administration, so to speak. So what would you say is the role of those tech companies and data scientists in that context?
Okay, thank you so much. Before to start, let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm working at Code for Japan as a developer, and Code for Japan is a non-profit organization that are focusing on the civic tech. So civic tech is a technology and citizens together and make the world is more better. So, and fun fact, I graduated Keio University 5 years ago, but this is my first, maybe second time to come Mita campus. I was SFC, so okay. So I think one of the I'm a civic hacker, and I'm not working on the huge company like Meta or X, but as a Code for Japan developer, I'm working on a disinformation project that analyzes X community node. And why we are choosing the community node, because community node, we can get the data freely, but X is much better than the other companies because they are providing us the data if we pay, but other tech companies doesn't give us any data. Of course, we can get from the API, but it's illegal. In that point, I would say the platform company should give some data point for the civic hackers or researchers. As Uno-san said last session, good democracy is everyone can experiment in every field, but without data, civic hackers and citizens cannot do experiment legal way. So at first, the role of big tech company should give enough data. Of course, we don't want to give your all the data. We don't say that, but we can. They should have a responsibility to make a chance for the civic hackers. This is the first thing. And here is one question for the orderly. How can civic hackers think about the fair use for the data from the platform companies? Because I want to do a lot of things with their data for the citizens, but it's not easy to use their data for that purpose. But there are also the fair use concept in US. How do you think about that?
Well, I mean, researcher access for social media data is, to me, just one instance of the more general idea of the freedom of movement in the internet. In here, you can move from one city to another city, and you can change your household registration or something. It is guaranteed by law, probably by constitution. But in the social network sense, if you want to move from Facebook to, say, Blue Sky or somewhere else, there's no law that protects your ability to move all your data. I'm sure you can probably download your videos or something and re-upload it, but then you lose all your existing connections, all your existing replies, the followers don't no longer work, the threads and so on stop working. And so there's no real freedom of movement. And compare that to, for example, when you switch from one telecom to the other, you can retain your number. It's called number portability because of a law. If you change from one bank to another, the old ATM machine closer to your home still give you cash because of the interbank protocol that is protected by law. So already we're seeing some states in the US, such as Utah, that just passed the Digital Choices Act. Starting next year, people in Utah, when they switch from one social media to another, this old social media company must continue through Fediverse or some other protocol to continue do the relay and to maintain interoperability on both the social graph, the followers, and the content. So I think to solve researcher access is, of course, you can use very strong like anti-terrorism or whatever to force them to give you a workbench like through the Christchurch call. But usually you only get a tiny slice. In order to get the whole fire hose, I think something like the Utah Digital Choices Act needs to be done across all jurisdictions in order to make it happen. And because it is a state law, probably also safe from the US tariff conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the Fediverse and the Web of the interoperability is really we need for that. Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you, Roma. So next, I would like to ask Kazutoshi-san. So we also face the new challenges of AI generated disinformation, which requires us to pursue more data-driven and AI-driven research, while we are getting less funding from the government or Meta or such those kind of big donors. So what kind of, in the age of generative AI and the age of Trump administration, is it possible for us to take proactive or preemptive disinformation countermeasures, or what measures would you think preferable from your AI-based perspective?
Thank you for the question. By the way, my name is Kazusa Sahara. I'm a professor at Science Tokyo. So I'm a computational social scientist. So I would like to answer from the viewpoint of computational social science. So balancing the barriers of democracy and national risk management in disinformation countermeasure has become very difficult with the emergence of generative AI. It's because with AI, so everyone can easily and realistically create and mass produce very realistic fake news, make images, fake voice, fake videos. So in such a situation, fact-checking by professionals alone doesn't work and not enough. Perhaps inoculation is working, but it's on one hand. So more important is the ability for users themselves to judge the authenticity of information in their daily lives. However, it is difficult to acquire the necessity, literacy, and verification skills just through education. So this is where AI technology that helps people in their fact-checking behavior becomes essential. So, but here's another potential concern. So suppose we had a very accurate, sophisticated AI that can detect deepfakes very accurately. Then the problem here is that how we deliver the AI results to the user. Right? Then can you show my slide here? So actually, we focused on this point and conducted 2 experiments I'd like to briefly explain. So I'll skip the details. Please, if you are interested, please look at this playprint. So in the first experiment, participants watched the video and were asked whether they would like to share it on social media. And participants were classified into 3 conditions. Condition 1, there is no AI, no warning. And condition 2, so AI produce kind of warning level if it detects during the watching video. And condition 3, AI produce warning after the video watching. And here you can see that if we provide the warning label during the video watching, effectively reduce the sharing intention of the fakes. And whereas the one label after watching doesn't that work that well. So here, the lesson from this experiment is that timing matters in providing warning interventions. And in the second experiment, something strange happening. So we conducted using 4 different videos. So now, participants watched 4 different videos consecutively, and warning labels appear 4 times in a row. So it means that in the condition 2 and second, participants received warning message, this is likely fake, this is likely fake, this is likely fake, this is likely fake, and so forth. And what happens is, so if we provide the warning label during the watching, now the effect is reduced and weakened. It is almost comparable to the control condition. And strangely and paradoxically, if we provide warning labels from AI after the video watching, increase the sharing intentions. So they are more likely to share deepfakes in experimental conditions. So all these experimental results suggest that how we deliver the AI results is very important. In addition to the development of the very accurate AI. Of course, we need to develop such sophisticated AI. That is the very first step. But also we need to consider how to deliver the AI to the users. So it is not just a matter of user experience, but this is a matter of designing digital trust in a democratic society. So challenge ahead in designing communication techniques that encourage users to naturally accept AI advice and change their behavior. So this is countering disinformation in the generative AI era cannot be completed by having AI that detects fakes alone. The core issue from now on will be the design of delivery, when, how, and how often to communicate AI fact-checking results to the user. So that's my opinion.
Thank you very much. You touched upon AI roles and critical roles in fact-checking in the future. And fact-checking goes to you, Daisuke-san. So I would like to ask you, or focus on your fact-checker perspective, point of view. So in the face of current global shake-up, I would say shake-up of disinformation countermeasures, and what is your assessment of Japan's current disinformation countermeasures? And while the presence of civil society organizations in Japan, as we discussed at the different occasions, so far is quite low. Compared to Taiwan, for instance. And I would like you to share your experience as a fact checker and your point of view or your concerns about the current Japan's counter disinformation initiatives.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. I am Furuta, the editor for Japan Fact Check Center. So if you hear Fact Check Center, you might think that we're just doing fact checking, but what fact checking can do for disinformation countermeasures is very limited. We do media literacy education and fact checking, and also for the researchers, we develop AI tools as well, and we are also engaged in various research and studies as well. We need everyone on board. That's very critical in disinformation countermeasures. Before I talk myself, I want to go back to what Audrey said, which was very critical. In Taiwan, about FIMI, foreign information manipulation and interference. Information interference from overseas. In Taiwan, this, I think, is the main disinformation countermeasure, or how to fight back approach from overseas, I think is very critical. So I've been attending international conferences, and when I speak with people in Europe, they've been talking about how to address approach and intervention from Russia. When I speak with people in Southeast Asia, it's slightly different. The tone is different because they need to get along well with China and with the United States. Their tone is very different because of diplomatic relationship with the United States and in China. And therefore, when we talk about disinformation, there are similarities because they are dispersed on social media. The place it is just spreading is the same, and the technology that is used the same. So there are commonalities, but what is the biggest problem that is emerging with regards to disinformation is different by country and by timing. For example, it's 10 years ago that I started fact-checking in Japan from 2016. In Japan, 2016, political disinformation was about attacking the Democratic Party. But now, if you look at it, if you look at the top share of disinformation, the attacks are basically on the Liberal Democratic Party. To realize that change, it's very important to do fact-checking every day. That's what we're doing. And since I've been asked of my assessment of the current situation, the current countermeasures in Japan are very much behind, unfortunately. 2016, I think, was a turning point with Brexit and the presidential election in the United States. The UK leaving the EU or Trump winning the elections. That was not expected, but looking back, there was a lot of disinformation on social media. And Craig Silverman, a friend of mine, was saying that there was so many articles that were shared rather than New York Times article. And that was a shock to all of us. And so fact-checking, media literacy, and contents regulation. I think there was a rise in discussion in those areas. But that did not happen in Japan. Why? Because the media in Japan was looking at it as a UK problem, a US problem. It was not recognized or communicated as a media problem. In 2017, Craig Silverman, the same approach was taken at the House of Representative election. News that was dispersed in Japan, I looked at those news feeds, Asahi, NHK, Yomiuri, rather than those sources, other sites were shared more. So the same thing was happening in Japan. But in 2016, it did not was not impacting the votes. That's why people oversaw it. And people realized last year in 2024 with the TMG gubernatorial election and Hyogo gubernatorial election, online information is going to move the votes. 8 years behind, Japanese media came to realize that. I think that was a very important turning point. Japanese media are also conducting fact-checking. So that's the change that we're finally seeing in Japan. So media is changing. How about civil society organizations, CSOs? I think it's very limited still. Fact-checking organizations are recognized as CSOs in other parts of the world. And 28 fact-checking and 5 commentary was issued, and compared to other countries, I think that was quite good, comparable. But we were the only ones conducting it. There are 2 other fact-checking organizations in Japan, and there are also key broadcasting organization. And I was counting the fact-checking organization. In just 2 weeks, there were only 6. So only 34 fact-checking, some kind of article was published. In Japan, this kind of democratic nation, this is unthinkable. It's so small in number. So we are very much behind, and CSO presence has not expanded, and CSO is very narrow in Japan. Dedicated personnel working for CSO is very limited. It's not just in CSOs. The trend for CSOs in Japan is more locally based, and they're focusing on education, disaster prevention, and disparities. They're not really focusing on new areas like disinformation or technology-related topics. There are very few CSOs. That's why Code for Japan is doing very important tasks, and we would like to collaborate with them. I want to come back to the Trump factor before I close. From 2016, we've been accumulating our activities over the years, and Trump administration really blew it away. It was really shocked. There's the freedom of speech with the First Amendment in the United States. And you would think that the fact check will work. But after 2016, there was this global shakeup, and all the democratic nations around the world were building a consensus. But with Trump administration, Mr. Trump turned everything around, and it was very shocking. J.D. Vance went to the security meeting in Munich and said that the European actions are undemocratic, that you're not focusing on the general public. I was lost of words listening to him. So in March in Taiwan, there was a RightsCom in Taiwan for human rights. And many civil society organizations were gathering. I was also there, and the freedom of speech is about CSOs asking for freedom, asking for democracy against an autocratic administration, whether it be hate speech or disinformation. Everything that is positive for us should be used. That's what the regime is saying. They're attacking us, and weaponizing of free speech is what we are seeing. How should we think of it, and how should we fight against it? Again, I think is very important these days.
Thank you, Daisuke-san. So you raised the topic, one of the hottest topic of weaponizing free speech and over censorship. So thank you so much. So I am going to use this final leftover time for the second round. So I would like to go back with you, Audrey. So after listening to all speakers' comments, how would you give us your insight of Taiwan's disinformation countermeasures, how it is evolving amid the uncertainty of Trump factors, as Daisuke-san just stated? Also, this is the second point I would like to ask you. What roles would you expect Japan to play?
That's great questions. And we have, what, 2 minutes? Okay. I first want to refer to a conversation I had in February with a influencer named Laura Loomer, and she is very influential in the MAGA world with President Trump and his supporters. And because I was physically in Munich for the cybersecurity conference when Vance, Vice President, delivered a speech, so Loomer played back that video to me and asked what I think of this message and how Taiwan can fight this kind of authoritarian control without getting more authoritarian ourselves, essentially. I would not repeat all the conversations, but I would say that the 60,000 live stream viewers on X and Rumble seem to like the Taiwan playbook. So it is actually possible to be a bridge rather than a gatekeeper to this world of very different associations with the word, for example, censorship and moderation and so on. It is possible to talk about these measures in such a way that is not kind of triggering for either the right or the left in the US. And part of this, I think, is the ability for many people to feel that if you subtract things away from the discourse, it actually fuels conspiracy theory because it creates a vacuum on which conspiracy theories can grow. On the other hand, if you add contextual information so that people know where is this ideas coming from, especially if the context carries this proof of humanity or person who credentialed many words for this, then people are much more reassured that this comes from a real person of the same polity maybe, and exactly which communities did it come from, and which community find is still disagreeing in a balanced fashion. We portray these like the Polish visualization. And if we can get the social media companies adopting all this, not just for community notes, but rather for the feed itself, then it adds critical context to pre-bunk everyone. And so I would say that to make sure that people can tell a robot from a human in online speech, that is the most important thing. I talked already about Taiwan's anti-fraud KYC requirement, and I also understand Japan is now evaluating the digital identity wallets, and specifically the ability to do a selectively disclosure signature, meaning that I can prove that I'm a person, or I'm over 18 years old, or I'm under 35 years old, or something, but without revealing anything else about myself. So this kind of selective disclosure can both protect the human discourse against the AI swarm attacks, but it does not result in government surveillance or tech surveillance in which each and every word need to be associated with a real ID or something. And so to figure out this narrow path, I think is very important. And certainly, I think in this regard, Japan is very much the same value as Taiwan. We want to support a robust civil society discourse without going into surveillance state ourselves. And so the integrity of the context to be rebuilt in such a way through meronymity, partial naming. I think this is the measure that we're taking in Taiwan, and hopefully in Japan we can see that as well.
Thank you very much. So, I want you to focus on tech side. So what are the future tech challenges in countermeasures of disinformation?
I would say a lot, because Daisuke-san said we are at least 8 years behind. So how we can recover the this many years behind and then go the next step, because technology is advancing amazing speed. So we need to keep in touch for that. In that conditions, we need to do more experiment, and we need to collaborate more technical aspect. So we are a civic hacker, and we are doing a lot of things, but we are not familiar with the specific AI technology or specific data analyzing things, or even for the design or the policy making. We need to gather together and do same thing together. So can you go the next slide? So this is the first step for the disinformation countermeasure activity in Japan, I think. Next month, we will have an event for the thinking about community node and the election. Community node is coming from the X, but we have a next big election. So we will meet at the one place, and we have 5 hours, maybe more. And we can gather and use the technology and design how we can use the data for the coming election. So if you have interested, please join our event. Thank you.
So Kazutoshi-san, so what roles can government, private sector, and civil society organization could play to expand long-lasting, evidence-based, and data-driven disinformation countermeasures or research?
Okay, thank you for the question. To me, it's a very difficult question, but I best try to answer from a researcher's point of view. So to implement more prevent and evidence-based measures against disinformation, governments and the private sector and civil society organizations must each play a distinct and also complementary role. So the government should focus on creating a kind of infrastructure and a legal institutional and legal infrastructure for research. And also private companies, particularly platformers, must provide access to data, as Ryoma raised a concern about data accessibility, and I have the same opinion, while also enhancing the transparency around the algorithms, since it is very crucial that third parties can evaluate how recommendation or the algorithm work, and moreover, these companies should be willing to incorporate external research findings into the design and the functionality of their platforms. And finally, the CSOs act as trusted intermediaries So they play a key role in grassroots monitoring of information environments and in delivering media literacy education and so forth. So, let's go back to data. So it's also, data access is important for researchers, but also for education. So without access to data, we cannot train students or young researchers or the fact checkers with skills to analyze it. No, we can develop experts capable of quantifying the fake news phenomena. So the shortage of talent in this field is critical.
Thank you very much. I agree everything what you said, especially transparency is one of the driving force to counter disinformation challenges. So finally, Daisuke-san, so I want you to focus on international cooperation and to wrap up the session. So how can Japan and Taiwan or civil society organization could be collaborated in that context? Thank you.
トランプファクターって本
Well, Trump factor was very big, but it's not that it stopped the international cooperation. Rather, I think international cooperation, especially amongst the CSOs, the fact-checking organization, has been enhanced. International fact-checking organization, which leads us, there are 180 certified organizations, and we are one of them. And the conversation that is taking place amongst the organization is enhanced. Because of the challenging situation, we want to hold our hands. And it's not just IFCN, but in Asia, there are discussions of creating a regional organization. I'm also a founder of that. So collaboration is enhanced. In terms of collaboration between Japan and Taiwan, there's Japan Fact Check Center and Taiwan Fact Check Center. We are collaborating with one another. We could fact check together. And last year, Taiwan and Japan Fact Check Center and Thai and Indonesia, with 4 countries, we had a user fact check competition, and 4,000 people participated from 4 countries. So media literacy education front, we can collaborate. We are collaborating. And in July, the DSET in Taiwan will come to Japan, and we're going to hold a seminar together. We haven't been able to find a venue yet, so KO Dignity Center, I've been looking at it, willing to be able to use it. It's a wonderful center, I think. So I am hoping to enhance our collaboration. When the presidential election was held in Taiwan last year, and I was in Taiwan, Lo Pinchen, minister, I had an interview with Minister Lo, and who was saying that international collaboration is so important. The importance of international collaboration was emphasized. I think Japan has to respond to that, because Japan in Asia for so many years after the war have been enjoying democracy. When I was a newspaper journalist, I was on a business trip to other parts of Asia. There were many issues and confrontations, and I think Japan should return what we are enjoying with the very stable democracy to other parts of Asia. And in Asia, Japan could become a hub for disinformation countermeasures in Asia. I think that's what we need to do.
There is much to discuss more, but time is up. Running out. We are running out of this time. So I would like to close this panel for here. But I would like to highlight that we must not be too pessimistic and try not to lose hope and look for broader partners and resources to develop sustainable, long-lasting, preemptive, and decentralized model of approaches and initiatives. So please join me in giving a big applause to all the panelists.